Hello, welcome to Christina's Knitting Catch-Up episode 18. I'm Christina and today is Sunday the 29th of November and I'm coming to you from my home in Canberra, Australia. So you can find me on Instagram as Cutiful Christina, I think, and you can find me on Ravelry as Chrisar. And we have a Ravelry group just called Christina's Knitting Catch-Up where I'll post show notes and any other stuff that we do, knit-alongs, things like that. So please come and join in there. And I'm here today to tell you about my knitting. And I've got one finished object, some works in progress, and some other type things to talk about. So firstly, I'll show you what I've finished. First thing I finished is my dad's socks. For those who don't know, I've been knitting socks for Christmas for my parents, mum and dad, and my brother and my husband. So I've finished 3 out of the 4 pairs, and this is the most recent one. It's just a plain vanilla sock. And it's knit in Arnie and Carlos design line for Regia, the summer night, something like that. And it's just a lovely mix of blues and reds and greens and white. Very pretty. You can see my ladders are slowly improving, sort of. They're much better than, I think they're much better than the first pair. But anyway, I did a fish lips kiss heel, and for these socks I did a rounded toe, which was new for me, but Dad wanted a lot of space in his toe. And the contrast heel, toe and cuff are Knit Picks Stroll fingering in just the white colourway. So they're finished. They are exactly the same, so that's good. But the balls were not the same, so I started the first one off just at the start of the ball because the other pair of socks I knit with the Arnie and Carlos design line had actually started in the same place. So I started this without looking at the other ball, and then I had to wind off a whole lot of yarn in order to start in the same place for the second one, which was a little bit annoying, but never mind. These have not been blocked. None of them have been blocked. Yeah, I'm not that happy with the rounded toe. I don't like it that much. Maybe I just don't like the way I do increases. I'm still learning. That's my excuse. So these are finished. I'll show you the other ones I've done. These were the first ones I did. These are for my husband, and these were in Bendigo Woolen Mills yarn. Just look at my ladders here. Much, much worse. And these were the second ones I knit, and these were the Arnie and Carlos ones for my mum, and you can see my ladders are a bit better there. So ladders improving, and I'm using magic loop, so that's good. Look at them all. Isn't that great? I feel so productive. So other things I've been working on, I don't know if I told you that I ran out of yarn for my shawl and I had to order more. It came and I started knitting again. Sorry. And now, let me see, where was I up to? So, just pull it out. This is the Chosen Path shawl. Chosen Path shawl by someone, and you can choose to do a big panel of stockingette and then a big panel of lace, or alternate short panels, and that's what I'm doing. That's my chosen path. So anyway, I ran out of yarn both before the pattern said I should run out of yarn and before I was happy with the size. So I bought another hank of yarn on Etsy. This is Touch Possum yarn, which is merino wool 60%, possums 30%, and silk 10%. And it's a lovely feeling yarn. Anyway, I ran out of yarn Sorry, it's in mirror image, not mirror image, the opposite to mirror image. I ran out of yarn here. So I've done, no I didn't, I ran out of yarn here. So I've done a stocking stitch panel and half of a lace panel. But the rows are getting to be extremely long, and I can't do lace on the go because I don't have that much space in my brain, and so it has to be a home project, and I just haven't been home very much over the past couple of weeks. It's nice lace, isn't it? Really like it. So pretty. So I think I will do, I don't know, I think once I've done this lace panel I will put it on a bit of scrap yarn and see how big it actually is, and then I will decide whether I'll do more or not, because it might end up being big enough. But I kind of doubt it, because it'll only be this much wider, or a little bit more. It'll be this much wider. And it was quite small when I tried it out before. Anyway, I've been working on that a little bit, but it's been hard because I haven't been home in the evenings all that much. Okay, next thing I've been working on a little bit is my mum's jumper. And you may remember that I knit this jumper for my mum earlier this year. And she wore it and was happy with it, but there were a few things that were a bit off about it. Like, it was a tad short, and I actually ran out of yarn when I knit it, so it was a tad short and the button bands were a tad skimpy. It was just, I had to scrimp on the yarn because I ran out. So anyway, I bought a new skein of yarn. Sorry it's gone all dark all of a sudden. The sun just went in. It's terrible having to rely on the sun. I bought a new skein of yarn, and this is Cascade 220 in the shaded spruce colorway, I think. Bit of a messy hank. And what I've done is, it's not blocked so you can see where I've done it, but I have lengthened the bottom ribbing. This was a bottom up jumper, so, oh come on. Yeah, this was a bottom up jumper, so it was quite hard to pick up the stitches and then knit down. So what I tried to do was pick up stitches where the ribbing ended and then knit down. And it was just really hard. Like, I got very stressed about it. The first, I did the sides, and then I did the back. And here's the other side. And for some reason the sides I ended up with, it just looks funny. It just looked kind of funny to me up here. But the back, I finally figured out how to pick up stitches upside down. So here's the other side, and you can see that there's almost like little holes. I don't know what happened, but it'll be fine once it's blocked, I'm sure. But for the back, I finally kind of realized how to do it properly. And I used the Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off. And I ended up making it about that much longer than it originally was, which is not much, but it was enough to make it a lot better. So now I've got to seam this up again. I've got to seam it up again, then I've got to reattach the sleeves, which I also made longer, and then I need to do the button bands and neck bands. So it's real sweater surgery. And just so you know, this is the Acorn Trail cardigan by Amy Herzog. A very nice pattern, easy to follow. There's the back panel. See how lovely it is? Beautiful. And the front panels are similar, but they don't have that central, they don't have this central bit. But yeah, sorry about the camera. Come on, turn on light. There we go. If I hide. Anyway, so I've been working on that, but once again, that's a project that I can only really do at home. when I can really think about it. And I have my crochet hooks to pick up stitches, and I've got my everything, my scrap yarn, my needle, my sewing needle. So that's like a really hard project to do. But I've been working on it bit by bit. I hope to give it back to Mum for Christmas, or even before Christmas. She won't be able to wear it for a while because it's too hot now. But anyway, then I only cast on the other day, these socks for my brother. And once again, these are going to be essentially the same as my husband's socks. So if I find the toe, I made my brother's socks, the wedge, a little bit wider, but they'll have the same stitch count in the end. See? Anyway, so I used the same yarn as this for the toe. I forget what it is. It's some contrast sock yarn, and this yarn is Serdar Heart and Soul. I don't know the colorway, but it's this colorway. It's got green and red and purple and yellow, and it's just very my brother kind of colors. And I hope I've got enough of this contrast color to do heel and toe. I've been doing heels and toes held double. That's all I've got left. But hopefully it'll be enough, and I don't think I'll do the cuff in contrast this time, just because I worry I won't have enough. So that's what I cast on. I'm really enjoying this yarn. It feels quite rustic in a way, a little bit rough, but my ladders are all but gone. I'm really thrilled. So I'm sorry for my husband, who gets the most laddery pair of socks. Look at how bad that is. Shocking. Oh my gosh, down here it's worse. I hope it'll even out a little bit when I block it. Looks like I haven't tied in the ends here. Whoops. Better do that. So that's all my knitting. So I've finished a pair of socks, started another pair, and I've been working on my shawl and my mum's jumper. So that's quite a lot. I thought I'd also just tell you what I'm wearing, because I haven't blogged about this cardigan. I made this, gosh, 2 years ago, or 1.5 years ago anyway, and it's called the Milena cardigan. I'll stand up, and it's got this lovely lace down the front. I think I knit it in a thicker yarn than was intended, and I ended up with a more dense sort of gauge, which is fine. I really like this, and I wear it a lot, even when it's kind of warm like today. I wear this cardigan. I just think wool is just such a great fabric for wearing even when it's not super cold. It's really breathable and nice. So this is 100% wool from Bendigo Woolen Mills. It's just their classic, and I find their classic, it feels a little bit rustic at first, but it really wears well. Oh, that's a bit of gunge. I must have elbowed in something, lent in something. There's my other elbow. Not so gungy. And this wool doesn't pill very much, so I'm really pleased with how this has turned out. The only problem with this pattern, it is a free pattern on Ravelry, is that it only comes in one size, and there are 12 buttons. Now this is quite a cropped cardigan. I'm wearing it with a dress. It's quite cropped. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 12 buttons. And it just ends up being such a pain to do. Also, I made a funny mistake on this cardigan, and I put the button band on the wrong side. So it buttons up like a man's jumper would. And it's just a little bit confusing for my fingers when I try to do it up or undo it, because it's on the opposite side. I don't think that it's super noticeable. I don't think I would notice if I saw someone with their buttons on the wrong side, but it's very confusing for my hands. Your body has more memory than you think it does. Like, try brushing your teeth with your wrong hand. You can't do it. So anyway, what I usually do is leave the buttons done up, and if I want to take it off, I just take it off like a jumper, because the buttons are so annoying. If there were 5 big buttons, it would be great, but it's not. So anyway, I've had an extremely busy few weeks, which is why I did not record last week. I have just had too much on and not enough brain space, and I didn't do enough knitting last week anyway to show you. So I'll tell you about all the stuff I've been doing. So when did I last record? I'm just looking at my calendar. I last recorded 2 weeks ago, and it was the day after I did my first spinning class. And I went out, I drove all the way out to Sutton, which is, I suppose it's only about a half-hour drive, but it seems to go on forever. In Canberra, we're used to just driving for 20 minutes at the most to get anywhere in town. It's a small town, very easy. But Sutton is half an hour away, and it's all in the country and on big highways and everything. So I drove out there and I did my spinning course, and I told you about that last time. And that week I had a performance called Voices in the Forest, which is an opera performance. And I was, of course, playing percussion with my husband and our friend on timpani. And that was really lovely, but the rehearsals were Thursday night, Friday night, and then Saturday morning, and then the concert was Saturday night. So I was quite busy over last weekend doing all of that, so I just didn't record. It went very well. The only problem with having a concert kind of outside, the stage is kind of undercover, but it's outside. The problem with that is that weather can happen. And last year it was rained out, and this year it was extremely windy and cold. So we came sort of prepared for mild nighttime weather, and it ended up being extremely cold, and I was shivering while I was trying to play stuff, and it was a bit difficult. But anyway, we did that. And then this week I have been practicing to do a gig which was last night, and I was actually playing drum kit, which I haven't done in a really long time. I haven't had a drum kit gig since like 2007, seriously. So that's a really long time ago. I do teach drum kit like every day at school, but I just haven't had very many gigs because I haven't had much confidence in drum kit. It's always been a bit of a man's game. There's all these other great drummers in town, so I just haven't really been asked. But I was asked to fill in for somebody, and I went to 2 rehearsals and then had the gig. And I was really nervous about it because, like I said, I haven't had a gig in a really long time, and you know, my confidence isn't great. And we were playing with a couple of other bands on the bill, and I knew that those drummers would be there, and I was worried they'd see how bad I am. But it turned out really fine, and I played fine, and my husband was there, and he said I was great, and the band were really happy with me, and I just couldn't believe how well it all went. And that was last night, the gig, and it's really made me feel a lot more confident in my playing, and I want to do more. So it's super great. The thing with this band is that their normal drummer is a little bit flaky, and she sort of doesn't show up to rehearsals and stuff. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. They might kick her out and ask me to join, which would be fine with me, but also I don't want to cause any drama. So I'm just waiting to see what they decide to do, keeping out of it. Not my problem. So I had that yesterday, and also yesterday morning I had the last spinning class, and I made some stuff. So last week what I did was I spun some white alpaca. I'm really sorry about the lighting, this is shocking. I spun some white alpaca last time, and this time I spun some black, and then I applied them together, and I ended up with this yarn, which is okay for my first ever yarn. It's a bit thick and thin. Like there's a pretty fat bit, here's a pretty thin bit. But I wanted to do it black and white so that I could see the contrast and everything. It's not the sort of yarn I would buy. And so what happened was I spun these pre-prepared bats of fibre, and these are both alpaca. And also I carded a bunch, still a bit wet, I carded a bunch of llama, and then I spun the llama, which is the grey, with the rest of the white. I had a bit left over, and this turned out quite differently to the alpaca. It's a lot hairier, probably because I didn't do such a great job of de-hairing it, and maybe I didn't spin it as tight. But it turned out quite different. So we used these electronic spinners, which I think are just like spinning wheels, except you don't have to treadle. Basically, there's an on switch, you can adjust your speed and the tension and everything just the same as you could on a regular spinning wheel. And we used the Roberta e-spinners. I've just got a pamphlet. Alpaca Magic, that was the place I went. The Roberta electronic spinner. So you can see it. That's a picture of it not set up. That's annoying. All the pictures are of it not set up, but these little bobbins, they sit upright, and that's the big bobbin that your yarn ends up on, and it goes through this little hole, and that spins around like a normal spindle would. There's your little knobs. So yeah, it was really a really nice machine. She sells them for $1,000. I can't really afford one right now, but maybe one day. I know Ashford also has an e-spinner, which might be nicer or as nice or cheaper or something. Anyway, so I spun the two single plies, and then I plied them together by having one on each bobbin and then spinning them onto the main bobbin. And then I skeined it up, and then we washed it just in a bit of shampoo, and then we thwacked it on the wall. And I wasn't too happy with thwacking it on the wall outside, this is, with bricks, because the bricks are kind of rough, and I think that they kind of pulled bits of fibre and made it really fluffy. You can see how fluffy it is. Yeah, it's not the best yarn, but it was my first try, and I'm pretty happy with this for my first try. It sort of even looks like I haven't spun them individually. Looks like they've just been plied without being spun. But I did spin them. So I thought I might make some kind of tea cozy or something silly like that with this. And I could have this as a little stripe or a pom-pom or something. But yeah, I was really happy with that, and I found spinning very relaxing and enjoyable. So yeah, I loved it. I loved every minute of it. It was so relaxing. Yeah, and I got to meet the alpacas yesterday. We didn't get to meet them last time because it was all wet and gross outside, but I got to meet them, and there was an alpaca that was born yesterday, or I suppose the day before, 2 days ago. And it was already pretty big. You know, they come out and they can already walk and run. And she has a mix of alpacas and llamas. So that was all very interesting. So the nice thing about this yarn is that I processed this grey yarn from the very beginning. I didn't shear the animal, but you know, I had the dirty fleece, and I de-haired it by pulling out all of the guard hairs, which is hard to do, and I still don't quite get it. It seems like you waste a lot of nice hairs when you pull out the guard hairs. So I did that. Like, I can see some guard hairs in here now. And I pulled out all of the mungy bits of crap, except for some. Here's some. Because, you know, alpacas and llamas roll in the dirt, which keeps away the lice and fleas and stuff, but also makes your yarn really gross. And then after I de-haired it and sort of picked out the bits, we carded it on a drum carder, which has a handle and a big round drum with needles in it. It's like a big brush, and you card it using this machine, and when you pull it off the carder, it's in this big bat with all of the hairs running the same direction, and then you can spin with it. So this is kind of special because I did it from the start to the end. And once we had spun it all together, we washed it in just some shampoo, and it was so dirty. It was incredibly gross. I could have washed it twice, but I thought instead what I'll do is I'll knit with it, and then I can wash the completed item. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. I know it's not the best yarn, and I'm sure there's techniques for achieving really smooth, perfect yarn that's strong and everything, but for now I'm quite happy with my yarn that is a little bit funny. Yeah, so there you go. There's my little skein. My other little, I suppose this could be a unicorn tail, couldn't it? Let's see how it looks. So that was really fun, and it was exciting to drive all the way out to this farm and meet all the animals. I learned the difference between llamas and alpacas. They're very similar animals. In fact, this lady interbreeds them, which I found kind of a bit weird, but whatever. There we go. That's pretty. Yeah, and I learnt the difference between them, and I made a friend or two, and it was just really nice. And I'm so pleased that I went. So this coming week, I don't have all that much to do. Now that I've done that gig last night, I feel like a weight has been lifted from my chest. And gosh, it was fun. It was just so much fun. I felt like a rock star. But now that that's done, I only have one more week of teaching to go, so that's 4 days of teaching for me, and I've got yoga on Monday and Thursday nights, and I have a few concerts the week after, but this coming week is pretty chill, so I'm really happy with that. I've got a concert coming up on the 12th of December, which is going to be a bit taxing for me because I have to learn a lot of repertoire. It's xylophone ragtime, which is my thing, but there are a lot of notes, so I have to kind of get out my xylophone. It's over there, see, and my Christmas tree. But yeah, that's my xylophone over there. Chuk, 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 chuk. My xylophone is 100 years old, and it sounds so nice. My Christmas tree is 2 years old, and it is so nice. Yeah, so I've got to do a bunch of practice this coming week, but it's going to be fun practice. I love that stuff. So maybe sometime I'll give you a little concert. Okay, well that will do us for today. No book reviews today because, like I said, I've been flat out. I haven't had time to frigging think. So I will see you in a week. I will record next weekend. This afternoon I'm going to a barbecue, sorry. I'm going to a barbecue for my mother-in-law's birthday, and then I have a rehearsal that I'm helping out with. I'm not in the concert, and should be good. So you have a really nice time. Have a lovely week. Do all the things you like. You can see how much more relaxed I am. My goodness. Have a lovely week. I'll see you soon. Bye.